Emma looked at her reflection in the elevator mirror. She adjusted her black blazer over the red dress she had picked for this special day. Her fingers lightly touched the pearl necklace around her neck, a gift Damien had given her on their 10th wedding anniversary 5 years ago. She remembered how happy they were back then. But now this necklace was just a memory of the last truly special moment in their marriage. The elevator slowed, and the number 47 lit up on the screen. The doors slid open, revealing the shiny, polished lobby of Winters and Smith, the law firm where Damien worked as the big boss. "Mrs. Smith, what a nice surprise!" The receptionist, a young woman with bright red hair, greeted her with a warm smile. But Emma noticed something behind the smile, a mix of pity and curiosity. "Dr. Damien is in a meeting right now," the receptionist continued, "but I can let him know you're here." Emma gave her a small smile. "That won't be necessary, Rebecca. It's our wedding anniversary. I'm sure he won't mind me stopping by." Emma's voice sounded confident, but inside her heart was uncertain. She walked down the long hallway, her heels clicking loudly on the shiny floor. The staff greeted her politely as she passed. After all, she was Damien's wife, the woman everyone knew had helped him grow this firm. But something felt off. People avoided her eyes, and their smiles seemed forced. As she neared the meeting room, Emma heard faint voices behind the closed door. She recognized one voice immediately, Isabel Blake's. Isabel Blake was Emma's best friend and also worked at the firm as a lawyer. Normally, hearing Isabel Blake's cheerful laugh would comfort Emma, but today it made her stomach tighten. "Mike, you're impossible," Isabel Blake said, her tone light and playful. Emma froze. Through the frosted glass of the door, she saw two shadows standing very close together. Her heart began to pound, but she forced herself to stay calm. She took a deep breath, smoothed her dress, and knocked firmly on the door. Inside, she heard chairs scraping and papers shuffling as if someone was rushing to straighten things up. Damien's deep voice called out, "Come in." Emma opened the door. Damien stood near the window, pretending to look busy. Isabel Blake sat at the table, her briefcase open in front of her. Everything seemed normal at first glance, but Emma noticed the little details. Isabel Blake's lipstick was smudged, and Damien's tie wasn't straight. "Emma, darling," Damien said with a wide smile, walking over to her. He kissed her cheek quickly, but the gesture felt mechanical, like a routine. Emma noticed a faint floral scent on him that wasn't hers. "Emma, what a surprise," Isabel Blake said, standing up. She was wearing a tight red dress that showed off her figure. Her smile was bright, but her eyes didn't match it. "I wanted to remind you about our dinner tonight, Damien," Emma said, her voice calm but firm. "It's our 15th wedding anniversary. 15 years deserves a proper celebration, don't you think?" Damien's smile faltered for just a moment. "Of course, Emma, I'll be home by 8. Isabel Blake began packing her things, taking her time. "Congratulations to you both. 15 years is such an amazing milestone," she said, her tone overly cheerful. Emma glanced at Isabel Blake and Damien, watching the subtle glances they exchanged when they thought she wasn't looking. "Isabel Blake, you should join us for dinner sometime. We haven't talked properly in a while," Emma said sweetly. Isabel Blake hesitated. "Oh, I'd love to, but I've been so busy with all these new cases." Emma smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Don't be late tonight, darling," she told Damien. "I've prepared something special." As she left the room, Emma kept her head high and her steps steady. But when she stepped into the elevator alone, she felt her composure crack. Her hands trembled as she clutched her leather handbag tightly. By the time she reached her car, the cold Boston air stung her face. She drove home in silence, the streets passing by in a blur. At home, Emma prepared a beautiful dinner. She set the table with their finest plates, lit tall candles, and opened a bottle of wine. She sat down and waited. The clock ticked. 8 o'clock passed, then 9. Finally, at 10 p.m., her phone buzzed. "An emergency with the Morrison case. Don't wait up for me," Damien's text read. Emma stared at the message, her chest tightening. She looked at the untouched dinner, the melting candles, and the wine she had poured. Her phone buzzed again, but this time it was a message from her mother. "I know today is special. I'm here if you need me," her mother's message said. Emma hesitated, then typed back, "I need you." The next morning, Emma woke up in an empty bed. Damien hadn't come home. Her heart felt heavy as she got ready for the day. In the closet, she reached for her clothes and brushed her hand against Damien's suits. As she did, a slip of paper fell to the floor, a receipt from the Four Seasons Hotel. It was dated 3 days ago. Emma's stomach churned. She didn't want to believe what was becoming clear. When Damien finally came home, he looked tired and unshaven. "Emma, I'm sorry about last night," he said. "The Morrison case—" "Don't lie to me, Damien," Emma interrupted. Her voice was steady but cold. "The Morrison case ended 2 weeks ago. I checked." Damien froze. "Emma, How long?" she asked, her eyes piercing into his. Damien hesitated, then he sighed. 6 months. Emma's heart broke. 6 months. That was when Isabel Blake had been promoted to senior lawyer. "It wasn't planned," Damien said quickly. "Things between us were distant, and Isabel Blake—" "Stop," Emma said sharply. "Don't blame this on our routine. I was here, Damien. I kept everything together so you could shine. And this is how you repay me?" She turned away, staring out the window. "Isabel Blake even told me 2 months ago that she was in love with someone. She said it was complicated, but I told her to follow her heart. I didn't know she was talking about you." Damien stepped closer, but Emma backed away. "Don't touch me," she said firmly. "What do you want me to do?" Damien asked, sounding desperate. "I want you to leave," Emma replied, surprising herself with how strong her voice sounded. "Be reasonable, Emma," Damien said. "This house?" Emma said, her voice rising. 15 years of my life, Damien. I built this with you. What's that worth to you?" Damien packed a small bag and stopped at the door. "I'm sorry," he said softly. After he left, Emma broke down, tears streaming down her face. Later that morning, Emma met her mother at a cozy cafe. Her mom hugged her tightly, and for the first time in years, Emma felt safe. "Tell me everything," her mother said, sitting across from her. Emma poured out her heart, and her mother listened. After a moment, her mother said, "Come home, Emma. Not to the big house with Damien, but to my house. Your old room is still there." "I can't just leave everything," Emma said, her voice shaky. "It's not running away," her mom said gently. "It's giving yourself time to think. You deserve that." Vivian Green spoke firmly. "Emma, you deserve more than just little bits of attention and respect. You always have." Suddenly, Emma's phone buzzed again. This time, it was a text message from Damien. It read, "Isabel Blake is pregnant." The world seemed to stop for Emma. She felt like all the air had left her lungs. Her hands were shaking so much that she nearly dropped her cup. Vivian Green saw the change in her daughter's face and picked up the phone to read the message. "Oh my goodness," Vivian Green murmured. Emma stood up quickly, feeling like she couldn't breathe, and stumbled to the cafe's restroom. Ignoring the curious looks from other people, she locked herself in a stall and let herself cry. Tears streamed down her face, and she didn't know how much time had passed. Minutes, maybe hours. Then she heard her mother's soft voice on the other side of the door. "Darling, open the door," Vivian Green said gently. Emma's hands were trembling as she unlocked it. Vivian Green stepped inside, holding a small makeup bag and a bottle of orange blossom water, something she always used to help Emma feel better since she was little. "Let's clean your face first," Vivian Green said in a soft but firm tone. "Then we'll get your things from home. You're not going to face this alone." As her mother wiped away the smudged makeup, Emma felt like she was a teenager again, back when her mom would comfort her after a heartbreak. "How could I have been so blind, Mom?" Emma whispered. "You weren't blind, child," Vivian Green said kindly. "You just chose to see the best in people. That's not a bad thing." Vivian Green gently applied some foundation to Emma's face, patting it with care. But now it's time to believe in yourself. When they walked out of the restroom, the cafe was almost empty, and the clock showed it was 11:30. Emma looked at her phone. There were more messages from Damien and Isabel Blake, but she ignored them. "I'm going to your place," Emma said finally. "But first, I need to grab a few things from the mansion." "I'm coming with you," Vivian Green said, not giving Emma a chance to argue. As they walked to the car, Emma felt a new strength inside her. The pain was still there, heavy and real, but now there was something else too, a sense of determination. Every step she took felt like a step toward a new version of herself, one who didn't need Damien's approval or Isabel Blake's fake friendship. "You know what's funny?" Emma said as she drove. "I always told you that you were too tough, too quick to see the bad in people. But now I understand. You were just protecting me." Vivian Green gave her a sad smile. "Sometimes we have to let our kids make their own mistakes, but we never stop being there to help them back up." They arrived at the Smith Mansion, a huge, fancy house with white columns and a perfect garden. Emma parked in the driveway, but her heart sank when she saw Isabel Blake's red car parked next to Damien's. "You don't have to do this now," Vivian Green said, gently touching her arm. "Yes, I do," Emma replied, straightening her shoulders. "No more running away." When Emma opened the front door, she could hear voices coming from the office. She told her mother to wait in the living room and walked quietly down the hall. Her footsteps were soft on the fancy Persian carpet. "How could you tell her by text?" Isabel Blake's voice sounded upset. "We agreed to do this together." "I wasn't thinking straight," Damien replied. He sounded tense. "She's my wife, Isabel Blake. 15 years don't just disappear." "What about me?" Isabel Blake shouted. "What about our baby? We're going to be a family." Emma opened the office door without knocking. The room fell silent. Isabel Blake stood near the window, her face streaked with tears. Damien, sitting in his leather chair, looked old and tired. "Emma," Isabel Blake started, taking a step toward her. "No." Emma raised her hand, her voice steady. "You don't get to say anything, but you have to understand," Isabel Blake began. "Understand what?" Emma interrupted, her voice rising. "That my best friend slept with my husband? That you came to my house, sat at my dinner table, and pretended to care about me while you were destroying my marriage?" Damien stood up. "Emma, we can talk about this. Civilly." "Civilly?" Emma laughed, but it wasn't a happy laugh. "Was it civil when you cheated on me, when you lied to me for 6 months?" Isabel Blake began crying harder, her hands on her stomach. "We didn't plan this. It just happened." "Nothing just happens, Isabel Blake. You made choices. Both of you did." Emma walked to her desk and began pulling out important documents. "But you know what's funny, Isabel Blake? You've always wanted my life, my style, my clothes, my friends, and now you've taken my husband. Congratulations, you finally got what you wanted." Isabel Blake stammered. "It's not like that." "Yes, it is," Vivian Green said, stepping into the room. Her voice was sharp, her eyes cold as she stared at Isabel Blake. "It's exactly like that." Damien looked shocked to see Vivian Green. "This is a family matter, Vivian Green," he said stiffly. "And you think you're still part of this family?" She shot back. Emma ignored the argument and kept gathering her papers. She stuffed certificates, bank statements, and other documents into her bag. "What are you doing?" Damien asked. "Taking what's mine before you try to hide it," Emma replied without looking at him. "I've learned a lot from you, Damien, and your so-called family values." Isabel Blake tried to say something again, but Emma cut her off. "We were friends, Isabel Blake. Not anymore. Now, you're just my husband's mistress who's pregnant with his child. Congratulations." Emma left the office and headed upstairs to pack her things. Vivian Green followed, helping her sort clothes, jewelry, and anything else that belonged to her. In the closet, Emma opened the safe with the combination. Her wedding date. She grabbed some cash, important documents, and family heirlooms. On the way out, Emma stopped in the doorway of the office. "My lawyer will be in touch," she said coldly. She pulled off her wedding ring and placed it on the desk. "You've made your choice. Now I'm making mine." Emma and Vivian Green walked to the car, packed the suitcases, and drove away. As they left the mansion, Emma looked in the rearview mirror. She saw Isabel Blake standing by the window, holding her stomach with one hand and Damien's arm with the other. When they reached Vivian Green's house in Cambridge, it was just as Emma remembered. The garden smelled like roses, and the old swing on the porch creaked in the breeze. Inside, the house smelled like lavender. "Your room is ready," Vivian Green said softly. "I've kept it just the way you left it." Vivian Green came to Emma's bedroom door wearing her soft blue robe. "I can't sleep," she said. "I'm planning my future," Emma replied, her eyes full of determination. Vivian Green smiled gently, the way only a mom can. "I knew you'd find your way back. Welcome home, my child. Welcome back to yourself." 3 days after Emma left her big house, she had a meeting with Jack Liamson, a lawyer in downtown Boston. Jack was an older man with gray hair and sharp eyes. He carefully read the papers Emma had brought. Your work is impressive, Emma," he said, pushing his glasses up. "These records of strange bank transfers over the last 6 months are very detailed." Emma, wearing new navy blue suit, nodded confidently. "Damien always got sloppy when he felt too safe," she said. Jack frowned. "These transfers to a Cayman Islands account add up to $2 million. Interesting timing, considering Isabel Blake Matthews' pregnancy." Emma felt her stomach twist. "Do you think Damien was planning to leave me?" she asked. Jack shook his head. "No, Damien always had backup plans, but you were smart to document everything." Suddenly, Jack's assistant rushed in with a tablet. "Mr. Liamson, you need to see this." Jack watched the screen and raised his eyebrows. "Emma, it seems Isabel Blake is giving a press conference right now." Emma felt frozen as she watched Isabel Blake on the screen, standing in front of many reporters. Isabel Blake looked sad but perfect, with flawless makeup and teary eyes. Her voice trembled as she spoke. "Damien Hart used his power to hurt me emotionally and professionally. Now that I'm pregnant, I'm scared and can't stay silent anymore." Jack turned off the tablet and said, "This changes everything." He started making phone calls quickly. "How is this good for us?" Emma asked, still in shock. "Because Isabel Blake just ruined her own career," Jack said. "We can use this to turn things around." As the day went on, there were calls and meetings. The press went wild with the story. Damien was removed from his job, and Isabel Blake went from being his secret girlfriend to claiming she was his victim. Jack turned to Emma. "We need to tell your side of the story, but we'll do it smartly." Vivian Green arrived at the office and held Emma's hand. "Everyone in Boston knows you were the real reason Damien was successful. This is your chance." Jack nodded. "Exactly. You're the loyal wife, betrayed by your husband and your best friend. People will listen to you." Emma looked out the window. "I don't want to be part of this media mess," she said. Vivian Green squeezed her hand. "You already are, darling. Now you have to control it." Jack suggested talking to a trusted journalist to share her story respectfully. Just then, Emma's phone buzzed. It was Liam Foster, the firm's boss. "Emma, I need you at the office immediately," he said. When Emma arrived, reporters were everywhere. She was glad Jack had hired security to help her. Inside the elevator, employees whispered, some offering kind words. In Liam's office, he looked stressed. "Isabel Blake is suing the firm for harassment. Damien is under investigation. It's chaos." "Where's Damien?" Emma asked firmly. "Nobody knows. He's disappeared," Liam said. Then he sighed. "Emma, I need your help to handle the firm's public image. No one knows our clients like you do." Emma was surprised. "You want me to fix this?" "I'll double your old salary," Liam promised. "I trust you, Emma. You've always been more than Damien's wife here." Emma thought for a moment and then said, I'll do it, but on 3 conditions. I work as my own boss, I have full control over decisions, and when this is over, I get a letter saying how much I've done for the firm. Done, Liam said. On her way home, Emma told Vivian Green, guess what? I just got my first client, and it's my old firm. Vivian Green smiled proudly. Sometimes, darling, you can turn chaos into an advantage. That night, Emma got a text from an unknown number. We need to talk. I have information about Isabel Blake. It was Chloe Carter, Isabel Blake's secretary. Emma replied, tomorrow, 9 a.m. at Cafe Nero. The next morning at Cafe Nero, Emma sat at a quiet table, watching the door. At 9 a.m., Chloe Carter arrived. She looked nervous as she held her coffee. Thank you for meeting me, Chloe Carter said, her hands shaking. What I'm about to tell you could cost me my job, but I can't keep quiet anymore. Emma stayed calm. Why are you doing this? Because what Isabel Blake is doing is wrong, Chloe Carter said, pulling out a USB stick. This has proof that Isabel Blake planned everything months ago. Emma's heart pounded as she took the USB. What kind of proof? Emails, messages, even recordings, Chloe Carter said in a low voice. Isabel Blake is not a victim. She planned this. The pregnancy? Not an accident. She calculated it all. Emma felt sick. Go on. She even kept a diary, Chloe Carter continued. She wrote down how to get close to Damien, how to make you look bad, everything. She's been obsessed with you since college. Emma's mind raced. The clothes, the beauty salons, the way Isabel Blake even talked. It all made sense now. She isn't really pregnant, Chloe Carter added. She bought fake tests and planned to fake a miscarriage later. Emma closed her eyes, trying to stay calm. Why Damien? Chloe Carter leaned closer. It was never about him. It was about you. She wanted your life. Emma called Jack and asked him to bring a private investigator. Chloe Carter explained everything to them. Emma decided, we need to handle this smartly. Later, Liam called Emma to a big board meeting where Isabel Blake and her lawyer would be present. At the meeting, Isabel Blake looked nervous as Emma walked in, calm and confident. Emma presented the proof: emails, fake pregnancy plans, and recordings. Isabel Blake turned red with anger. This is invasion of privacy, she shouted. No more than your secret recordings, Emma shot back. The board learned that Isabel Blake had done something similar at another job, leading to a tragedy. Finally, Emma faced Isabel Blake. 15 years you pretended to be my friend. Why? Isabel Blake burst out. Because you had everything. The perfect life. The perfect husband. I wanted to destroy you. Everyone in the room sat in silence as Emma realized something. Isabel Blake wasn't strong. She was broken. Ms. Green sat quietly in the meeting, listening. Mr. Liam Foster, a serious man in a suit, finally spoke. Ms. Green, he said, the firm has seen your accusations and we not only reject them, but will also take legal action against you for lying. Samuel Archer, another lawyer, stood up and began gathering his papers. This meeting is over. My client will not say anything more. But Emma Thornton, a brave woman in the room, suddenly spoke up. Wait, she said. Her voice was sharp and strong. There's one more thing. Damien is here. The doors opened and Damien walked in. He looked tired but determined. Isabel Blake, another person in the room, took a step back as Damien said, I admit it, I did something terrible. My behavior was wrong, but there was no harassment. I agreed to something foolish and it ruined my marriage and my reputation. Emma, Damien's wife, but soon to be his ex-wife, watched him with both pity and disappointment. Damien, she said softly, you were hurt too, but not the way you think. Isabel Blake, the other woman in the room, suddenly laughed. It was a loud, almost scary laugh. Do you think this ends here? She said. You think you can do this to me and just walk away? No, Isabel Blake, Emma replied gently. This doesn't end here. It will only end when you get the help you need. And if you don't, we'll make sure the authorities handle it. Liam Foster, who was in charge, stood up. This meeting is over, he said. Miss Green, your contract with the firm is terminated. Security will help you collect your things. As Isabel Blake was led out of the room, Emma stayed behind, looking out of the window at the city. Damien walked up to her. Emma, No, Emma interrupted. There's nothing more to say between us, Damien. Some things need to end. After the meeting, Emma found her mother, Vivienne Green, waiting in the lobby. Vivienne Green opened her arms wide, and Emma hugged her tightly. It's over, Emma whispered. No, my darling, Vivienne Green said softly. Now it all begins. 2 weeks later, Emma was standing in her new office in Boston. It was a small space on the 12th floor with a view of the city. On the door was a new sign that said, Shh, Emma Wilson, Strategic Consulting. She had gone back to her old name, Wilson, to start fresh. Vivienne Green was helping Emma set up the office. She placed a plant on the desk to brighten the room. Olivia Hayes called again this morning, Vivienne Green said. She's really interested in hiring you to help with her hotel business. Emma smiled. 3 clients in 2 weeks. Not bad. Actually, it's 4, Vivienne Green said, handing Emma an envelope. The mayor wants you to help with his re-election campaign. As Emma was getting ready for her day, the phone rang. It was Jackwell Liamson, a lawyer. Emma, we have news about Isabel Blake, Jackwell said. What happened? Emma asked. She left the country last night. She flew to London, Jackwell said, but before she left, she wrote you a letter. It's a confession and an apology. Do you think it's real? Emma asked. Yes, Jackwell said. She admitted to everything and said she's going to get help. Emma hung up the phone and sat quietly for a moment. Vivienne Green noticed her thoughtful expression. Are you okay? She asked. I don't know, Emma said honestly. Part of me wants to read that letter, but another part just wants to move on. Vivienne Green nodded wisely. Answers don't always bring peace. Emma's life was busy. Her work was going well, and more people wanted to hire her. One day, Liam Foster, her old boss, visited her new office. Damien has left the firm, he told Emma. He's moving to Chicago. Before he left, Liam handed Emma some papers. They were divorce papers, signed by Damien, and a recommendation letter for Emma's work. Why did you bring this yourself? Emma asked. Because I have a proposal, Liam said. The firm needs help fixing its reputation after everything that happened. We want to hire you. You want me to help the company where my ex-husband betrayed me? Emma asked. Yes, Liam said simply. We want to turn a bad situation into a chance to grow and pay you well for it. After he left, Emma went downstairs to a cafe. She ordered her favorite drink, a chai latte with almond milk, and sat outside watching people walk by. Her phone buzzed with a text from Chloe Carter, a friend. Isabel Blake's letter is with Jackwell. Do you want to know what it says? Emma thought for a moment before replying. Thanks, but I'll read it myself. Later that day, Emma finally opened Isabel Blake's letter. The handwriting was shaky, not like Isabel Blake's usual perfect writing. It said, Emma, I tried so hard to be like you that I forgot who I was. I didn't hate you. I envied you. I'm sorry for everything. I'm getting help and hope someday I can forgive myself. Not for what I did, but for betraying our friendship. Emma carefully folded the letter and put it away. She realized some stories don't need happy endings, they just need to end. 3 months passed, and Emma's consulting business was booming. She hired a small team, and her office expanded to half the floor. On her wall was the first check she earned. One afternoon, Eliza Brooks, her assistant, said, Damien is back in town. He wants to meet you. What did you say? Emma asked. I told him your schedule is full, Eliza Brooks said. Good answer, Emma replied with a smile. That evening, Emma gave a lecture at Harvard about managing crises. A student asked, How did you deal with public betrayal? Emma thought for a moment before replying. Betrayal hurts, she said, but sometimes it helps us grow. The question isn't how much it hurts, but what we do with that pain. After the lecture, Vivienne Green met Emma at a cafe. You're different today, Vivienne Green said. How so? Emma asked. "You're finally at peace with yourself," Vivienne Green said. Emma realized it was true. Her life was her own now, not shaped by anyone else's expectations. That evening, Emma had dinner with Liam at a fancy restaurant. He told her, "We've known each other for years, but I feel like I'm really getting to know you now." Emma smiled, but their dinner was interrupted by a work emergency. Emma rushed to the office to solve the problem, feeling confident and capable. By 2 a.m., everything was under control. Emma sat at her desk, reflecting on how much her life had changed. Emma found a message from Liam on her phone. It was about a talk they didn't have that day. She had waited 15 years for this, so she thought it can wait a bit longer. Smiling, she replied, "Thank you for understanding." Dinner had been interrupted, but not fully finished. When Emma got home, she found her mom, Vivienne Green, awake with a cup of tea. "How was dinner?" her mom asked, looking at her carefully. "It wasn't finished," Emma said as she sat down, "but in a good way." "Liam is a good man," Vivienne Green said. "He always has been, even when things were tough with Damien. He never lost his honesty." Emma nodded softly. "Yes, he is," she agreed. The next morning, Emma woke up to the sound of rain. Her phone was filled with messages. The crisis she had been working on was now under control, and her boss, Olivia, was happy with how things were handled. Emma also saw an email from her old friend, the heir Isablake. "Emma, the treatment is helping me. For the first time in my life, I feel like I'm not just a shadow of someone else. I hope you're doing well. Lan." As she got ready for work, Emma glanced at her closet and saw the green dress she had worn the night before. It was a color she had never worn at her wedding, but now it felt like her own. Her phone rang. "Breakfast?" Liam asked, without waiting for her to say hello. "I promise it won't be interrupted this time." Emma smiled. "Breakfast sounds perfect." Driving to meet him, Emma thought about how strange life was. A year ago, she had been afraid of losing everything. Now she realized she had to lose everything to find herself. The little cafe she chose was cozy and far from the busy streets of Boston. Liam waited outside under a black umbrella. "About last night," he began when she arrived. Emma gently stopped him. "Some talks need their own time, Liam. We don't have to rush." He smiled and offered her his arm as they walked into the cafe. The rain kept falling outside, but inside, there was warmth, coffee, and endless possibilities. A year had passed since the night Emma learned of the betrayal. Autumn was back in Boston, but this time it felt different. Emma's consultancy business now had a whole floor in a fancy building with 15 employees and many clients waiting for her help. That morning, she was finalizing plans for the launch of Olivia Hayes' new hotel chain. It would be her biggest success yet. "The reporters have arrived," her assistant, Eliza Brooks, told her. "Forbes wants an exclusive interview before the event." Emma nodded, adjusting her emerald green blazer. It had become her lucky color. "And the other thing?" Emma asked. "All set," Eliza Brooks said with a knowing smile. "Liam has no idea." Over the months, Emma and Liam's relationship had grown slowly and naturally. He gave her space, respected her independence, and loved her for who she truly was. Emma's phone buzzed. It was a message from her mom. "The dress is ready. I picked it up today." Emma smiled, thinking of the golden dress Vivienne Green had carefully helped design. Some things about her mom never changed. During the interview, Emma spoke about her journey. The reporter said, "Many women find your story inspiring. How did you turn a tough time into success?" Emma thought for a moment. "I've learned that hard times can teach us the most. The key isn't to avoid falling, but to learn how to stand up stronger." The reporter asked, "What about your personal life? There are rumors about someone special. Some parts of life deserve to stay private." Emma replied with a smile, thinking of her surprise for that night. At the Four Seasons Hotel, the launch event was beautifully set up. The main hall sparkled with a mix of classic elegance and modern style. "You've outdone yourself," Olivia said, hugging Emma. "But why didn't you tell me about—" "Not yet," Emma interrupted with a smile. The event went smoothly. Guests admired the hotel models, reporters took notes, and champagne flowed. Liam, looking handsome in a tuxedo, chatted with investors, but often glanced at Emma. At 10 p.m., Emma walked onto the stage in her golden dress, the lights making her glow like a star. She began her speech. A year ago, I learned an important lesson about new beginnings. Sometimes we need to lose everything to find something greater. She looked at Liam and the crowd and added, "Tonight isn't just about this hotel launch. It's about transformation, courage, and love." Stepping off the stage, she walked towards Liam, who looked puzzled. "A year ago," she said, "you showed me that real love doesn't trap you, it sets you free." She pulled out a small box. "So, Liam Foster, will you marry me?" The room fell silent, then gasps of surprise echoed. Liam, for the first time ever, was speechless. Finally, he smiled, opening the box to find a simple, elegant wedding ring. "Yes, I will," he said. Applause filled the hall as they kissed. Vivian Green, filming the moment, wiped away happy tears. Later, on the hotel balcony overlooking Boston Harbor, Emma and Liam shared a quiet moment. "You planned all this?" Liam asked softly. "I've learned that some stories are worth rewriting," Emma replied, leaning into his arms. The city sparkled below them, full of promise. Emma thought about how life could surprise you, how betrayal could bring freedom, how loss could lead to rebirth, and how an ending could become the start of something even better. Thank you for watching. If you liked this story and want to see more, please subscribe to our channel. That way you won't miss any new videos. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and share what you think in the comments. We love hearing your thoughts. Also, don't forget to check out the other videos on our channel. We'll see you in the next story.